Braintree District Museum presents Hidden Histories, the untold stories of the women that shaped Essex, in collaboration with the University of Essex History Department.
Hello, and welcome back to the Hidden Histories web series. I'm Eve Garner, and in this episode I'll be outlining the life and legacy of one of Essex's most rebellious women, Grace Chappellow. Grace Chappellow was born in 1884 in Islington, London, as the second child and first daughter of John Stephen Chappellow, a chartered accountant, and his wife, Emily Mary Elizabeth Chappellow. Enjoying the life of a wealthy middle-class family in London, Grace attended the North London Collegiate School, particularly excelling in music and singing, even taking private lessons from George Bernard Shaw's mother, who was the school's singing mistress. During her time at school, her head mistress was Dr. Sophie Bryant, an influential name in the feminist activism scene. It is most likely that this is where Grace would inherit a very early onset interest in the suffragette movement. When Grace was 17, her father moved away from the rest of the Chappellow family in Islington, yet remained married to Emily despite the separation. It is around this time that Grace was arrested for criticising Winston Churchill, who at the time was MP for Dundee, Home Secretary, and also President of the Board of Trade. This was part of a mass demonstration in Leicester, organised by the Women's Social and Political Union, the leading militant organisation of the suffragettes. Whilst only in prison for 7 days, this arrest would be the first of many for Grace, setting the stage for the remainder of her adult life. By 1910, Grace and her mother had moved to Nounsley, near Hatfield Peveril, and it's here in Essex where Grace visibly and actively dedicated her life to the suffragette movement. Grace was featured in the November edition of Essex Weekly News that same year, after having been arrested for a second time. Grace was one of 119 suffragettes arrested for attempting to raid the House of Commons. Whilst escaping prosecution on that account, Grace would be arrested yet again, but a year later in 1911 for another plan to raid the House of Commons, this time alongside 223 other women. In 1912, Grace featured in the Essex County Chronicle for her fourth arrest, this time for smashing the windows to Mansion House, the home of the Lord Mayor of London. For this, she served a 2-month sentence of hard labour at His Majesty's Prison, Holloway. Upon her release, it is said she stole a prison cup and knife, most likely as trophies for her acts. In the November of the same year, Grace was arrested once more when her dog attacked a political agent. Whether the attack was provoked or not, this is unknown, but she refused to pay the fine of 14 shillings and was sentenced to a fortnight in prison. Grace would go on to receive a certificate signed by Emmeline Pankhurst on behalf of the WSPU and a badge from Sylvia Pankhurst for her work campaigning towards women's rights. Much of Grace's life is centred around her numerous arrests on behalf of the WSPU, and has often been relegated to nothing more than that of an empty shell of activism. But aside from her work towards the suffragette movement, Grace was an avid animal lover and a great supporter of animal rights. She maintained a strict vegetarian lifestyle, adopted 13 cats, and kept a herd of goats, selling their milk as a side income to her family funds. Upon the death of her mother Emily, Grace inherited a large sum of money, all of which was dedicated towards animal charities. Grace Chappellow would die in Essex in 1971. She became known locally as the Goat Lady and was recognisable for rarely washing her hair and a general disregard for her appearance. This would lead Grace to feature in the project Snapping the Stiletto, a lead example dispelling the negative stereotype of the Essex girl and defining the strong will of women from the county.